Now, back to Coastal Living on KZTV.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time for your favorite Friday segment, the Coastal Living Fishing Line. Please welcome Captain John Little. Welcome back. We're so glad to have you back in the studio.
Thank you for having me back.
So you've been off on another adventure. We're living vicariously through you.
We were. My wife and I, we went and visited my sister up in Falls City. We hung out with them for a week, and then went and hung out with my brother-in-law, and went to Louisiana, and
Fun.
we relaxed. We had a very peaceful New Year's.
Very nice. So were you there throughout Christmas and New Year's?
We did. We spent Christmas with my sister, and just like we were talking earlier with the steer and the pigs, my nephews show pigs, so
Cool.
we did a lot of pig walking.
Yeah, how fun. You're like, I'm just going to take the pig for a walk.
Always going on the best adventures. And I have to
It's a
say,
good time.
Louisiana is my second favorite state, so
It's
I'm
beautiful.
sure you had a great time.
We did. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. Well,
And the
you've got
food is
roots
amazing.
there.
Right.
Oh, yeah. So what's your favorite thing to eat when you visit Louisiana?
Boudin. Gotta have
Yes,
boudin. Gotta have the
boudin.
boudin.
Do you
for
know
sure.
what? I tried
Crawfish.
boudin tamales for the first time.
Really?
How
At
was
the
that?
Mala Fest. It was good.
That sounds really good.
They get pretty creative with those things.
Any
Boudin.
tamale is a good tamale.
You know what we
so.
need to do is take those over to Louisiana because I bet those would be a
That's right.
hit. Anyway,
probably
different
right.
topic, different segment.
Right, right.
But we're talking about rods and reels.
We are, yeah. So these are my workhorses. This
Okay.
is what makes me look good out on the water. These Waterloo rods are amazing. The salinity and this bait runner are both really lightweight and very strong rods. The Fuji eyes on them, they're really smooth, so whenever you cast, the line goes through them really easily. And then I use spinning reels for my clients, that way they don't backlash as much. If you have an angler that really doesn't know how to cast very well, these are a lifesaver.
Absolutely.
You remember fishing with me whenever
Of
we did our little
course,
trip.
right.
Sometimes they do get wind knots in them,
Yes.
and they're a lot easier to take out than the bait casters.
These other guys. Okay.
So,
I don't know that I've
these
ever
are the
used
spinning
these.
rods,
I
and
think I've got those under control.
These
Tell us about these.
are fairly easy. Now, whenever it comes to your bait caster, it requires some training. Of course, whenever you cast this, the spool continues to let line out. So if you don't put your thumb on it, the line is gonna, what we call a backlash,
Or a bird's nest, right?
Bird's nest, exactly. So you have to control that, and you have to watch the entire time. So whenever you're casting and you're making your fish calls, whenever the line is, yeah, that one right there.
Something like that.
Whenever the bait hits the water, you have to make sure that you stop the line. And if you don't, it's going to be a huge problem.
Okay.
But the advantage to using one of these over a spinner is whenever you're wade fishing. Of course, the reel is sitting up away from the water compared to the reel closer to the water on the
Okay.
bottom. And you can cast these a lot easier. Whenever you cast these, you can whip it around real simple. You don't have any problem casting. With these, it's a little more bulkier, and you have more
Okay, use a little more energy. You sound like Zorro. You're showing off, Captain John. Go,
But
okay,
you
so what do you
mentioned-
recommend for a beginner then?
So the beginner, you're going to stick with the
Start with
salinity.
those.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely. This salinity, and it's a lot cheaper than the bait runner. These
Okay.
bait runners are a little bit more expensive, but they last a long time. This rod right here is actually 4.5 years old.
Oh, wow. So it's a good
it
investment.
looks brand new,
It's in
but
great condition still, too.
Exactly. A lot of clients have used this. You can see that the cork holds up really well, and of course the graphite composite that he uses whenever he builds these, it's very, very sturdy, and it holds up in the salt water very well. So,
Awesome.
salinity, it's a little bit cheaper than this one, but it still has a good backbone on it, still has good sensitivity, and it's easy to cast, and it'll bring in all the big fish that you want. So you're not going to
Right.
have any problem at all.
I can agree with these. They're very lightweight, and that's why I love using them. And I do have a question for you. So, for those that are new to fishing, how do these differentiate from rods we use whenever we're offshore or doing a different kind of fishing than when
Right.
we're out on the bay?
So your offshore rods are going to be, of course, a lot heavier.
Right.
They're going to have to be because, of course, offshore.
try and bring in those big
pelagics,
boys.
Offshore, yeah, they're
Yeah.
much bigger than our base species. You know, your trout, your redfish, they don't usually get over 30, 40 inches. They're usually around that. Whenever you're offshore, you can run into a 7, 8 foot shark, no problem. And if you're using one of these rods for that, your rod's not going to do very well. It's just
Right.
not built for that. So those offshore rods are just bigger, bulkier, and
Exactly.
you don't have as much sensitivity, but you have a lot more backbone, and you can
Sure,
just
which you'll
force
need.
them in.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
And back to the reels, these are a lot of fun when you're catching a redfish, right?
Oh yeah.
Can you agree
get to
with
hear-
that?
Oh yeah, you get to hear that wonderful drag.
Exactly. That's
the
Yeah,
sound.
Whenever that drag starts to spin, it's a adrenaline rush, and there's no replacing that at all. It's an amazing
So
feeling.
Jocelyn mentions beginners, and there are, I'm sure, a lot of people who are regularly watching this segment, and they're like, you know, you're right. I live in the Coastal Bend. Why not make this a new hobby of mine, something to enjoy, especially with your kids, to get them out of the house? So I know when somebody's, you know, I want to become a painter, and you go and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I needed the paint and the brushes and the canvas and this. So what is a beginner looking for when they walk in to buy a new rod? What other accessories are we going to need with it?
So your beginner rod, I would say this Salinity would probably be the best beginner rod that you could possibly buy. You can actually go out to the Houston Boat Show this weekend. Jimmy Burns is there with a Waterloo booth. They have these combos set up.
Nice.
And he actually, we talked on the phone before I came in, and he said that if you go to the Houston Boat Show, mention my name, say Captain John Little on Coastal Living TV,
Hey.
sent me here, he'll give you $10 off of any combo there.
Okay,
And-
so it's like a starter pack.
Right.
Okay,
And
good to know.
It's ready to go. It's exactly what I use. I'm not saying what I use is the best, but
It works
I
for you.
rely on this day in and day out. I have no doubt I can stand there and watch somebody fight a 40-inch redfish
Right.
and have no doubt in my mind that they're going to be able to reel it in because it's good quality equipment.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is the best combo that you could possibly buy for this area. It's a pin, the Shimano, the Noski reel, and the Waterloo Salinity rod, and then I put fins, braided line on.
Right.
So
And I have to add, for a beginner, I would say these spinning reels are typically what you should go with instead of
Definitely.
a bait caster, because those require a little bit more experience. I
they
would
do.
say.
It's
Alright.
just a lot more practice. You'll have to practice a lot more for your bait caster.
Anything you're trying for the first time or the 20th is going to take practice.
Exactly.
Thank you, Captain John Little, for joining us and
Thanks for
enlightening
having
us on these rods. So if you are a beginner and you want to get started, well, now you know what to do. Okay, guys, coming up, we have your beach report. You're watching Coastal Living.